introduce yourself for me, please?
I'm David Norland. I'm the composer for HBO's My Dinner with Air.
Okay, and can you talk about how music has inspired you as a person?
Sure. So I grew up in a very musical household. Can I stop for 1 second? Should I look at you or in camera?
Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. Dealer's choice.
So I grew up in this really musical household. My father had been a clarinetist in a military band, and my mother was trained as an opera singer and wanted to be an opera singer. They were both very passionate about music, and I had music lessons from very early. But the thing that was really important for me was there was always a piano in the house. And music lessons or no music lessons, I would sit at that piano as a kid and just noodle away. And by the time I was having formal piano lessons, I already, on a certain level, understood harmony because I'd worked it out for myself. So that was kind of helpful, and I didn't want to be anywhere except at that piano, just playing. And just writing kind of strange, abstract, childish kind of things. Then I became a chorister in a choir that sang, in a number of choirs, school choirs, church choirs, and also a choir that sang 16th century English church music in cathedrals around England. And so I was highly trained as a chorister. And my parents got me composition lessons when I was age 12.
You're on the cartoon.
It kind of didn't really work out for too long because it was around that time that I discovered the electric guitar. And I sort of took this hard left turn into wanting to be in bands and playing guitar and all this kind of stuff.
Less classical.
And less classical. And so, even from an early age, I kind of had, a foot in both worlds. And I played flute in the jazz band, in this awesome jazz band. I played guitar and sang in bands. I played keyboards in bands. The only thing I never did was play drums. Right? I just couldn't master the four-way coordination. It was just beyond me. So I was always writing music. That was the thing. I was always playing, but more than that, I was always writing. I was always experimenting with writing. And one of my first music teachers, very influential on me. And that was the time I was taking composition lessons. So I must have been 11 or 12. And I'd written this piece, right? And I took it. I was really proud. I took it to him and sat down at the piano and started playing. He said, "Well, this is Vivaldi. This is not David Norland. This is Vivaldi." I said, "No, I wrote it." "Well, I know you wrote it, but it's in Vivaldi. This is just you ripping off Vivaldi." And then a little later, in the music room, he had this beautiful grand piano, and he just put his foot on the sustain pedal, right, and he just limped on all the keys all the way up, and we just sat there and listened to this sound decay. And he was trying to show me that it was important to try and be original and inventive and imaginative in how you approached it. And that was a really powerful lesson to give a 12-year-old kid. So I've no idea where that goes now, but I'm grateful to him.
So can you tell me more about the importance that you think of the music and the actual cinema that come together? Because a lot of people, because I draw, but I didn't really understand how important the music was until I seen a clip that it was like the same clip, but it had one music and the complete opposite music. So, for people who look at it differently, like music really does make or break a film. So how do you kind of like get your music to fit, you know what I mean, and become part of the cinema, right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very much so. So I think with any creative process, at a certain point you just have to start, right? You may not have any idea where you're going, or you may have some idea, and you may find out later on that idea is wrong, right? But you have to start. You have to get into action, and you have to start making things. And the great thing about writing for film is that once the editor's started, you have clips or scenes or sequences that you can put the music against and see whether it's working, and so that will tell you very quickly whether you're going in the right direction or the director or the editor will say, I don't think that's working, or yeah, that's really working. So it's really a collaboration, and at the core of it is this thing of however great a symphony I can write, or a piece of choral music or whatever, at the end of the day, whatever that ability is in me has to be put in the service of the story that's being told. And there is somebody who is telling this story who has an idea probably of the kind of tone that they're trying to create emotionally. And so I put what I do in the service of their aesthetic, right? And so getting to know them and to know their aesthetic and what they're looking for and how they're trying to tell the story. And it's a very, it can be a very impressionistic, ambiguous kind of thing trying to figure that out, you know. And one way to do it is to talk to the storyteller about the kind of music that they like to listen to get their points of reference. And another is to write a lot of music of different kinds for this story, and then see what the storyteller gravitates to, you know, and put it up against picture and see what the picture, you know, the picture sort of takes on a character of its own and will tell you, no, you've made that too sweet. Now it's just syrup, right? Or you know, this scene worked really great, and now you put music on it, and now it sucks, right? Or this scene was kind of playing a little bit bland, and now there's this kind of haunting atmosphere behind it, which the music has brought. So I'd love to say that there's sort of some kind of magic formula for just seeing a scene and going, I know what this needs, and just doing it. But a lot of the time, really, there's an element of trial and error to it. And so for me, what's really helpful is to get into a bigger creative collaboration where I'm making a lot of music in conjunction with the storyteller, right? And a big back and forth about what's working and what isn't. Even before it hits picture, you know, what feels like it's speaking to the story, to the characters as the storyteller is imagining it, you know. And then seeing whether it works to picture and whether it's supporting the scenes, you know. And back to your initial point about seeing the scene with music and seeing the scene without music. Sometimes one of the things you hear is that, and I don't 100% agree with this, but sometimes you hear, if you're aware of the music, it's not doing its job properly, right? Because you're supposed to sort of sink into the background and do the thing that you're doing with the music without. And I really support it. There are moments for the music to step out, you know, like in a montage where, you know, all the dialogue and production audio goes away and it's just music and picture and something happening. It's a moment for the music to step out. But a lot of the time, especially when music is supporting a scene, you really, you know, the music is not the thing that needs to step out. It needs to be supporting. You know, it needs to be supporting the story and the characters, I think. You know, so a lot of the time it's important to remember that subtlety is your friend, I think, probably, and to look for the moments where it's, you know, okay, so this is a moment where music will step out because it supports the story for it to do so. It's a very big balance all the way in terms of what, and only one question ever: what does the story need here? What's supporting the story?
So I had a question that got out of my mind. So I guess when you add the music, is it ever like a hardship to know, like, when it's overly done, where it's too many instruments, or you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
You said subtlety is usually sometimes less, but sometimes some scenes, you know, require more. So how do you kind of figure out, you know, how you kind of like figure it out?
I mean, I'll start off with an idea for, you know, what music could do to help here, and then my job is to execute it as I see it, right? And then to do the show and tell, right? This is how I saw it, and I think that it works. And what do you think? You know, with the director and with the editor and with whoever else is part of that deliberation. Sometimes it's a very personal connection just between the composer and the director. Sometimes it's a broader set of note giving and direction finding with more of the filmmakers, you know. And then for it to be this collaborative process of, you know, at the very worst, no, this absolutely doesn't work. The worst that can happen is that, and it's not that bad, because then at least you get to have the conversation of, okay, what was it doing that wasn't helping? You know, and why was it not working? And that can help you steer towards the next, you know. And I just keep going at it. I just keep going, keep making. I think, again, the key component for a composer is you just have to keep creating no matter what, you know, because you will get there and you will get to it. But you know, it's, you know, sometimes it's fabulous, and I've, you know, written a theme and it gets placed in the movie, or I've scored a scene and it just works and everybody goes, that's it, you nailed it, brilliant, get it in the cut, that's it, done. Right? But a lot of the time it really isn't like that. A lot of the time it's just this back and forth and this very collaborative trial and error process, you know, where every time I'm just consistently trying to ask this question, knowing what I know now from the dialogue that we've just had, what does this story need to learn? and what does that look like musically, given everything I've learned about this film that we're making.
Okay. If you could talk to a composer that has passed away, which one would you pick?
So who's the person in this section?
That's a terribly difficult question.
Okay, pick two.
Well, I would love to spend a bit of time in the company of Richard Strauss. Because I think he was probably a bit of a gentleman, but also he had a sense of humour. I'd love to spend a bit of time in the company of Johann Sebastian Bach, so I could see this extraordinary musical and mathematical mind at work in the flesh, and the work ethic in terms of making that amount of music over a period of time. That's two, isn't it? That's my ration.
Okay, give me two more.
Ralph Vaughan Williams, because I'd like to talk to him about. He went through a process of. He felt that English folk music, the old tunes of traditional tunes in England that had travelled down the generations, were dying out and were not being perpetuated, and so in many respects he immortalised a lot of them in his own works, and what that process was like to collect these tunes and crystallise them so that they would not be forgotten. That's very interesting to me.
It's interesting.
One more?
One more.
Well, it might be interesting to talk to Stravinsky and find out what it was like. My music history may be off here, but I think it was at the premiere, the first performance of The Rite of Spring, and there was a riot because it was so radically innovative and different and discordant. And I would absolutely love to know what it would be like to have your work receive that kind of,
Shock.
So anyway.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much indeed.